You're watching and listening to the Electronic Intifada live stream. I'm Ali Abu Ni'mah here with my colleague Nora Barrows-Friedman. And as we've just been hearing, early on August 10th, Israel attacked a group of journalists near the main gate of al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City, killing Al Jazeera's 28-year-old correspondent Anas Al-Sharif and his colleagues Mohammed Qreiqeh, Ibrahim Zaher, Mohammed Noufal, and Moamen Aliwa. Israel killed Mohammed Al-Khaldi, a journalist who worked for Sahat Media Platform, and Saad Jundiya, a Palestinian civilian who happened to be present in the same attack. These brazen murders have sparked global outrage and even criticism from some of Israel's staunchest partners in this genocide, such as the European Union. This criticism has not, however, come with any action to hold the killers accountable. But on Tuesday, the Hind Rajab Foundation and the Palestinian Center for Human Rights filed a complaint at the International Criminal Court over the murder of Anas Al-Sharif and his colleagues, as well as Israel's killing of more than 230 journalists during this genocide, by far the largest number of media workers killed in any conflict in history. The two human rights groups say, quote, "This was not just another tragedy in a long war on the press. This was a clear-cut criminal act, a war crime, and part of a broader genocidal campaign, and it demanded a direct, targeted legal response," end quote. They also state that their action at the ICC, which names specific Israeli commanders as responsible for the latest killings, is not just symbolic litigation. The Hind Rajab Foundation says that it is tracking these individuals, identifying their roles, and preparing to pursue them in any jurisdiction willing to act. Joining us now to talk about this and other ongoing efforts to bring Israelis involved in the genocide to justice is Dyab Abou Jahjah. He is a Belgian Lebanese political activist and writer, and he is the co-founder and chair of the Hind Rajab Foundation, the organization that uses offensive litigation to hold responsible those involved in atrocities of violence against Palestinians. Dyab, welcome back to the Electronic Intifada live stream.
Thank you for having me back.
It's good to have you.
Thank you so much for all your work, Dyab, you and your colleagues. And let's start with your action this week at the International Criminal Court in cooperation with the Palestinian Center for Human Rights. You say you have identified the individuals responsible for the murder of Anas Al-Sharif and his colleagues. Who are they, and what are you asking the ICC to do?
Yes, of course, when we talk about individual responsible, the first people who come to mind are the political responsibles, and this is, of course, true. And this is the main responsibility is a political responsibility, and it is Benjamin Netanyahu, the ministers, and the people who are designing this policy, whether the genocide in its whole or the onslaught against journalists and aid workers, medics, etc. So within this genocide, you have a cluster of little genocides or genocidal machination that are actually being deployed in a clear strategy, serving the big scheme. And this is the attack on journalists is part of that. It is part of the war on truth. It is part of the effort to try to gaslight the whole world about what's going on in Gaza, etc. So this is very important to put out there. However, from our perspective as Hind Rajab Foundation, we try always to go beyond the obvious culprits and the usual suspects and go deeper into the structure of the Israeli army that is enabling this genocide, that is executing this genocide. And it is because we know that, first of all, this is something that has to happen regardless, but also because the Israelis are willing to, keep bearing this broad responsibility and giving it a political narrative on the level of prime ministers or ministers, etc. But they are very afraid of really making this concrete into naming those who are responsible and pursuing them legally. So within that same strategy, the HRF, the Hind Rajab Foundation, has been analyzing the drone units within the Israeli Air Force for a while now, whether it is the quadcopters who have done a lot of damage, killed a lot of civilians. So we have a special file on the droners, those who operate them and how that functions. These are usually embedded within military units that are operating in Gaza, meaning infantry or armored units. And then you have the other category of drones, which is the what we call the Hermes class drones that execute more targeted killing. And in this case, in the case of the assassination of Anas Al-Sharif and his colleagues, this is what was used. So initially, we had to determine the drone type so that we can connect it to a squadron of drones. So we narrowed the research to 2 squadrons, and we filed case of we are almost sure and certain, more than 80%, that it's one of the squadron that is called the Black Snake Squadron. However, there is a slight possibility that it is another squadron called the Firebird Squadron, and we filed cases against both commanders of these squadrons. Of course, these squadrons operate out of the Palmachim Air Base, which has been running the big drone campaign against Gaza. So we filed against the commander of the Palmachim Air Base, and it is operationally within the Israeli army under the Southern Command. So we filed against the commander of the Southern Command in the Israeli army, and then we go up to the Air Force commander and to the chief staff. So this is the chain of command on the level of the Israeli army. There's a parallel, let's say, responsibility to the military intelligence, specifically Unit 8200, which has been doing the surveillance, because Anas Al-Sharif and also many other journalists before him were tracked mostly by telephone data, by cellular phone data. And that work has been done by Unit 8200 that also confirms the targets, confirms location, and communicates directly with the drone squadrons, and is actively participating in the assassinations. And so we filed also a case against the commander of Unit 8200, the old commander and the new commander. Why the old commander? Because this case that we filed is also including the assassination of many other journalists that the people at PCHR were documenting all through the previous months. So we joined forces with PCHR, who brought their documentation on the side of the victims, and we brought our documentation and work on the side of the perpetrators, and we did this filing together. So yeah, and it's also very interesting to know that this Unit 8200 is being promoted and branded and sold outside of Israel as, let's say, a banner holder of Israeli tech. And, in many technological companies across the world, in Europe and the United States, if you put Unit 8200 on your CV, you are very, sought after to join. So you have even technological fairs that are held in European cities where people are boasting that former members of Unit 8200 are there. So you see, these are all segments of this genocide that are being normalized as if it is, something to be proud of. And that last is the most provocative about all this, is the fact that the Israelis claim this kill, that the Israelis are acting in a most barbaric manner, literally, by claiming a kill and by boasting about it, and to use medieval language, to put a head on a spike and clamp on your chest like a bloodthirsty gorilla. So this is how the Israeli establishment is acting regarding this. So this is why also I feel that, yeah, the response to it, I don't think anything could be enough. I don't think what we're doing is enough. I don't think, there's something burning inside to do more, and therefore we say this is just a start. These people, including those who are inciting, like Avichai Adrai and all, these people will go after them always, in all possible jurisdictions. Of course, our work is legal work, right? So in our terrain, we will never just let go of them. The ICC is just a start. It's important to document it there. We hope that the ICC will issue arrest warrants. They should issue arrest warrants, but we will keep going after them also in national jurisdictions and monitoring where they go and their movements.
Yeah, what happens next after you file these reports, documenting all of these, evidence of allegations of war crimes? What is the process by which the ICC reviews and then decides if they are going to add this to the previous, case of Israel's culpability in genocide and war crimes, or would it be a new case? And what's the timeline in all of this?
Right. To start with the last question, there is no timeline. The ICC has no obligations toward any entity or individual that files what they call communication to the ICC. This is why they call it a communication, because they want to keep the prerogative of acting whenever they feel is necessary. Of course, now if we look at the real world, regardless of rules and regulations, you know very well what the ICC has been actually going through in terms of pressures, in terms of all kind of machination, sanctions that were imposed on several judges and former prosecutor. So there is a war at the ICC at the moment. So we are all, we don't know. We're trying to also understand how the ICC is going to move forward with this, because we are not, we don't have an understanding yet of how the current general prosecutor is going to go about these things. So this is why I say, well, the ICC is the first most logical place to go with such a filing in the initial phases. But it cannot be, and it should not be the only one. It cannot be the end of the road, because we do not have a lot of leverage to know what will happen at the ICC. Normally, if you want to know what should happen, the ICC should, without any doubt, issue arrest warrants against at least the highest ranking officials within this list, at least the chief of staff of the Israeli army and the commander of the Air Force. But we believe even beyond that. So this remains to be seen. This is why justice, or at least litigation, should try to bring these cases also to national jurisdictions. And this is what we are trying to do. We are researching the nationality of these people, whether they hold another nationality next to the Israeli one. We are working with some leads regarding that. But also, under these people, you have people who do have the nationality, who operate under them or within their squadron or under their command, and can constitute a nexus, a link in a certain jurisdiction to bring them also, and to create jurisdiction also to them. So there's a whole, lot of stuff that has to happen still that we can, do something about, that we do have agency. Unfortunately, with the ICC, filing is the last thing basically you can do. You could ask, you could try to, have channels to talk, but in reality, it is a black box.
So let's talk. You talked about the importance of bringing cases in national jurisdiction, so in the courts of various countries around the world. So let's talk about a recent unprecedented step that came about thanks to the efforts of the Hind Rajab Foundation. Last month, 2 Israeli soldiers visiting Belgium to attend the Tomorrowland Music Festival were arrested and interrogated by Belgian authorities in relation to suspected war crimes in Gaza. but then they were released. Please explain to us what happened. What does it mean that the two suspects were arrested, that they were released, and what is the status and significance of this case now?
Right. Let me first clarify that these two suspects did not have the Belgian nationality. These were what we call traveling soldiers. So they are, as far as we know, only Israeli. They have only the Israeli nationality, and they were on Belgian territory to, attend this festival. Why do I say that? Because had they had Belgian nationality, then they are dual nationals, and then the proceedings will be different, right? I remember last time I was at the Electronic Intifada, I spoke about the plans that we have in Belgium for Belgian dual nationals. We still did not get there. We're working on that. We don't have to rush with them, right? Because the jurisdiction is very strong when it's the nationals. So this is why also this is very important, because we're not speaking here about Belgian nationals. We're speaking here about traveling soldiers, and we basically ask Belgium to exercise its universal jurisdiction on these two individuals. And the breakthrough is that just like Brazil before it, Belgium acknowledged that. But more than what Brazil did with the Vakdani case that we spoke about also last time, Belgium went on and arrested the two soldiers. And by doing that, actually, it set up a very important precedent. Also, it chose to do that. I mean, Belgium could have waited for them to leave the country, interrogated them at the airport, just some Q&A and let them go. But Belgium wanted clearly to pass a very strong message and actually went in and arrested the soldiers and put them in handcuffs and took them for interrogation in the middle of the night. So this is the first time, and I don't want to be, using superlatives, but I mean, this is the first time on the record that Israelis at all, not just Israeli soldiers, but definitely also Israeli soldiers, were arrested, were put in handcuffs for crimes committed against Palestinians. It never happened before. So in that sense, this is an important precedent. And now, after that, of course, Belgium had to navigate a lot of pressure, as you could imagine. What Belgium did, of course, they released them, but they released them. It did not mean that the case is closed. And but they allowed them to go, and which is regrettable, of course. We would have loved, or it would have been logical if they had kept them awaiting the further proceedings, right? So, but we knew that, I mean, to be honest with you, I did not expect Belgium to arrest them at the first place. I expected Belgium maybe to open a probe, which would have been good, right? Like Peru opened the probe, and it's a good thing. Brazil opened the probe. Because we're trying to build this, accountability culture towards the Israelis. This is something still new. And because since they are not nationals of the country can always claim that they do not have jurisdiction. They can go to that minimal interpretation of universal jurisdiction, whilst we try to defend a maximalist or a broader interpretation of universal jurisdiction. So now when they let them go, after a week, Belgium did not close the case, but sent the case to the International Criminal Court. And this is important. Belgium did not do that claiming it did not have jurisdiction. It still asserted its jurisdiction, but because that power is discretionary, Belgium has the right to decide whether to prosecute itself or to deflect to the ICC, which is a higher court, because Belgium is a signatory of the ICC. So on the one hand, of course, Belgium relieved itself from the diplomatic pressure that it was under, which is, politically speaking, rather hypocrite. On the other hand, the Belgian judicial apparatus, which is maybe annoyed by the political pressure, did make a point and did send a signal, and in a forcible way. So in that sense, this is absolutely a breakthrough, and this is absolutely something to build upon.
Indeed, it is. And because of that kind of work, the Hind Rajab Foundation's, work to bring accountability for Israel's crimes has made it a target of Israel and its lobby groups For example, this is an official Israeli government website directly attacking and smearing you and the organization. When we spoke to you on the electronic live Intifada live stream in January, you told us that the authorities in Belgium, where you live, have taken threats to you seriously and that you've had to move between locations for your own security. Can you tell us what the situation is now in terms of any interference in your work, and if you are receiving the support you need to continue this really important work?
Yeah, on the Israeli side, there's definitely an escalation in terms of the disruptive efforts that they are trying to put forward against the foundation. And they recently communicated also that they have, commissioned extra budget for that group that they created to counter our work, because there's a group from different ministries together with the with the Shabak and the Mossad also involved in it, to disrupt what they call lawfare, right, from their perspective. So in terms of threats, I cannot say that there is an escalation in that. I think that there's a status quo. I think that, personally in Belgium itself, even though you could never discard any possibility, you can never, say that it's impossible, but we feel rather on the security level, rather okay, rather safe. But I think what their strategy is now, trying to develop more an approach to disrupt our work legally and financially. And we are feeling that also in Belgium. We are feeling that they are turning every stone, trying to make our life very hard. We are feeling that they are lobbying against us in banks. They are lobbying against us in all kind of institutions that sometimes we would need to work with. So we feel that there is that kind of pressure. And they tried also to lobby the government. They sent that report that you just shown to the Ministry of Interior, and the Ministry of Interior investigated it and communicated on the record in Parliament that it is a nonsense, that they could not verify any of the claims in this report. So it turned out good for us.
The Belgian Ministry of the Interior, to be clear.
Correct. Yeah, and I'm sorry, it's the Ministry of Justice. So that turned out good for us, because this report was actually debunked by the Belgian Ministry of Justice. So we feel we're okay in Belgium, but we have to pay attention internationally. I still pay attention, try not to travel a lot, try to restrict that. So yeah, it's still there. On the security level, I think it's stable. On the disruption of our work, it's gaining traction. On the other hand, we are also becoming stronger. We are becoming also more robust. We are having more people. We are having more support. We are building a lot of partnerships. So we are also, let's say, upping our game. So I think we can withstand it, hopefully.
And of course, you, as you say on your website, Hind Rajab Foundation .org, you are supported by the public around the world. So people can go to your website and, make donations to support the work, which is why Israel is so keen to disrupt your ability to function. But you also told us last time that you have many lawyers around the world working with you and volunteering, and that's not so easy to disrupt. So I just wanted to point out that Israel always, if you're supported by a government or a big institution, it's easier for them to go after that. It's much harder for them to go after organizations that have a broad international grassroots base like the Hind Rajab Foundation. So in my estimation, that's why they're scared of you. And the more support you have from people around the world, the stronger you'll be. So of course, people can always find out more about your work at hindrajabfoundation.org. Dyab, before we conclude our discussion today, this genocide has now gone on for more than 21 months, almost 2 years, and Israel only seems more brazen and cruel in its atrocities now, with its escalating airstrikes, its escalating attacks and destruction in Gaza City, and its announced plan to occupy the whole of Gaza, whatever that may mean in practice. Despite the extraordinary efforts you and others are making, especially ordinary people around the world, including many of our viewers today, we don't see any governments acting on the level they should be. At the same time, there seems to be an enormous shift in public opinion, especially in the West, where, of course, Israel originated, Zionism originated, and the support for it is still strongest. Give us just what are the positive signs you see, and what's your message about how we can collectively keep up the momentum and pressure for action? You are as indefatigable and determined as ever. What's your advice to us to keep us as strong as you are in this struggle for an end to this genocide and for justice in Palestine?
Well, to start with, I think we are all part of one broad movement, all of us together doing, the same work and doing the same démarche on different terrains and different avenues, legally, on the media level, like you do, on the awareness level, but also on different other levels. So I think this is something that is indeed, we have to keep going, but people, can put pressure, but it's only states who can stop the genocide. When I'm talking about stopping it, all the perpetrator, or we have to wait till the perpetrator had enough, or the genocide is completed. So this is the sad side of things. Now, this does not mean that our role, all of us, is not important. I think we have to keep doing relentlessly what we are doing, because we are creating this shift in awareness and this generational shift and cultural shift and political shift and social shift that will maybe come to fruition later. Of course, the frustration is we cannot stop this slaughter now. We cannot force it. We cannot, order them to stop. We cannot break the siege. It's something that the states block us from doing that, right? I mean, like the people who tried to march to Gaza, who's blocking them from arriving? States are blocking them, and not only the Israeli state, the flotilla people who try to reach. Well, the Israelis are stopping them, but imagine states would have provided protection to them, military protection to reach and break the siege. That would have worked better than this, masquerade of dropping aid or this part of genocide that is the so-called GHF. So, but still, even though we cannot stop it, we can make them pay the price. And this price later should be paid. There should be retribution. There should be justice. And it's not only on the legal level. We are working on the legal level. But when we create also the awareness, there will be a price paid also politically. There will be a price paid also culturally. And this can bring about that slogan that we all hold dear, which is Free Palestine. I mean, Free Palestine will be born out of all these struggles and resistances on different level across the planet, and especially led by the Palestinian resistance itself. So this will come. And I believe, you always say, Ali, the demise of Israel is happening. And I agree with you. It is dramatic that it has to come through a genocide, that it has to come this far, to have something as natural as the freedom of a people and its right to self-determination. But it will come eventually to pass through the awareness that has been created when Israel, for the whole world, dropped all its masks. I mean, for us, people who are from Palestine, or Arabs, or Muslims, or people who've been committed for a long time in this cause, we always knew what's going on. But for so many people, these last 2 years, have grabbed them and shook them and woke them up and let them see what's happening. So now what was fringe 2 years ago, it's starting to settle within the mainstream. And that shift is a catastrophe for the Zionist project. And it will, this is eventually why the work of awareness and the legal work and all these other works, they contribute also to this shift, right? But the big pain in the heart is that this is still unfolding and that the states are complicit, because this defaulting on their responsibility to end this genocide, a responsibility which is determined and legally set within the Geneva Convention, which is an obligation of these states. The fact that they are defaulting, including Arab states near Palestine, that they are defaulting on their responsibility is complicity. And it's something that also eventually should have legal and maybe political repercussions.
Mm.
Yes,
Thank you,
that day
Dyab.
is coming. Thank you so much, Dyab.
Yeah, and that really is it. It's our efforts, your efforts, the efforts of people around the world are accumulating, and the world is changing. And in the meantime, I think we've talked about this many times. We've reminded ourselves of the words of the historian Ilan Pape, who back in the early months, he warned us. He said, the next year, 2 years are going to be worse than we've ever seen, but the future is going to be much brighter. And I think we have to keep that in mind. And your work, Dyab, and the work of your colleagues at the Hind Rajab Foundation and the Palestinian Center for Human Rights, and all those who are working for accountability, gives us a great deal of hope and strength. And we're very grateful to you for coming and updating us, and we hope you'll come back again, and we will be following your tireless efforts. And again, for people who want to find out more about your work and how they can get involved in it, they can go to hindrajabfoundation.org. Dyab, we wish you great success and
thank you very much.
Steadfastness in your work. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. Keep going.
Thank you so much, Dyab. You too. Thanks.
Thanks.